All right. Here we go. Share screen. Got it. Live screen. It might ask you for permission because I'm going to record the meetings today. All right. Share. Do we have Leila here? Okay. Celeste? Gabriella?
Here.
Andrew? Absent. Jillian?
She's here. She's right behind me in her car.
Oh, okay. All right. Christina? Christina? Joshua? Deanna?
Here.
Kate?
Here.
Griffin? Andrew?
Here.
Tyler? Aubrey? Lysiana?
Here.
John?
Here.
Chidi?
I'm here.
Rosario? I'm sorry, Rosario. Ben? Ahmed?
Here.
Isaiah? Pedro? All right. Isaiah, you here? Okay. Pedro? Okay. All right, I'm just going to repeat the names of those of you who I did not hear from. Do we have Leela, Celeste?
Yes.
Celeste, you're here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Leila? No. Do we have Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Do we have Christina? Joshua? Griffin?
Yeah.
Griffin, you're here?
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler? Aubrey?
My name's Gabby.
Tyler, Aubrey? Rosario? Benjamin? Isaiah? Pedro?
Gabby is here too. She's right behind me.
Who?
Gabby.
Gabby. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I marked her present.
Oh,
Yeah, Gabriella, right?
okay. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm. Okay, I thought I heard her. All right. Okay. All right. Just give me a second here. I'm just going to call the front desk, and if there are any students, they can be directed to the class. 1 second here. Stop share. New. I'm actually on a call with the front desk representative just to see whether any. So I purposely muted myself. Kate. Okay.
No, she's talking to the front desk. She's muted. She said she's
Is there a
muted.
meeting passcode?
Yes.
All right, I'm here back with all of you again. I just wanted to make sure that there's nobody waiting there. I think she said that there were a few students who've come in, and pretty much I think most of the students have access to the resource, phone or a laptop with internet connection. But if anybody doesn't have, I just wanted to make sure that the center has a learning commons area where students have access to laptops, but they can actually go walk into any of the resource center and join the class through that. Just wanted to make sure that they had that, and they said they do, and I told them to advise and to the students. I don't think anybody asked for it, but all right. Okay, yes, Kate, I muted myself because I was talking to her, so that's why you could not hear me. But I guess you're Benjamin. You said you're here.
You're all
Thank
good.
you. Sure. Thank you for letting me know that you are here. I will mark you present, Benjamin. Gabby, I marked you present. Gabby, I did. So, but you're here now. Thank you. All right. So here we are. Today, I'm sorry, I was not able to come to the campus physically, but I didn't want to miss this class. I'm here. I'm here. I couldn't get in on my computer.
Turn your phone on.
Okay, so Jillian says, 1 second here. Get in on my computer. How she been texting us? I don't, Jillian. Present. Okay, so I'll mark you present, Jillian. No problem. All right. Today I'll do it again right after before the class because there's no attendance. I know that people have been trying to figure it out, so no problem. I will do an attendance later. So Jillian and Gabby already marked you present, and Ben I'll mark you present. Okay. All right. So here I was supposed to, I had a meeting, which I kind of knew that last night was an emergency meeting. And I realized that by the time the meeting, got done, I won't have the time to drive. So you guys would have been delayed for like maybe 30, 35 or maybe 40 minutes. And I didn't want that to happen. So, so that's the reason I I could have now that I know, but I didn't want to take the risk. And I kind of rushed through that meeting and was able to reach at around 9, around the time that I was trying to log in from my car. Anyways, all good that we are here with each other.
Work on biology.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. 14 of us are here today. All right. So first of all, thank you very much for your profile speech outlines. Some of you did mention to me, I got emails from you that some of you were doing it on Google Docs and you were not able to load it. And then there was somebody else that just not being able to load documents on Blackboard, and you sent it to an email. So that's okay. I was just wondering, why would you have that issue? Has anybody tried to submit any outline through Google Docs on Blackboard and it was unsuccessful? Okay. I guess not. So, all right. So I think there was one person who was trying to do it on Google Docs. All right. So it should be Google Docs doesn't. Okay, let me see what's coming. I use Word document book. Yeah, I'm actually, I don't use, I know that my children, they use Google Docs quite a bit, but I use Microsoft Word document. But it shouldn't be, because so many people are using Google Docs. I don't know why Blackboard will not be kind of accept Google Docs. But if that happens, you can send it to me as an email, no problem, and I'll know when I'm grading. I have to go back, pull it up from you, and then transfer it there. So not a problem. I'll do that. Okay. So Celeste says you can download your Google Doc as a Word doc and then submit it. Good. Thank you. That's a good tip. Okay. All right. So I did, we discussed in our last class when we were on campus, we did discuss about speech writing, and I kind of talked to you about, went through all the slides with you in regards to PowerPoint presentation. Did talk about a little bit of a recap. Did talk about the 3 speech prompts, which is the 3 themes, which is silence, resilience, and disguise, right? So I think I did ask all of you individually what you are leaning towards, and I think most of you had a choice, and some of you had maybe about 2, and you were thinking that I'll go back home and sit on it and think about it. And then we talked about, there were 2 speeches that we watched. One was Martha Clooney's speech, about her whole experience at University of Pennsylvania, where she joined as her first year in college, and the whole microwave incident that we watched that speech. And alongside, we watched Matthew Dix's speech inciting a right upon myself. So we watched those 2 speeches, and on the basis of that, we kind of talked about a few things. And I mentioned to you that success leaves clues, right? So some of the good speeches that, and then I guess by this time you may have reviewed some more speeches on the Moth channel, and that will just give you an idea of how storytelling happens. Now, having said that, I also wanted to mention to you that there were few speeches that I have watched, and I've always found that storytelling, you can get a lot of information about how to do good storytelling. And there's no one way to do it, but typically, if I actually went through several award-winning good speeches, I went through some of them, and I felt that based on what I watched, I think there's a pattern. There's a pattern that most successful storytelling speeches, they use. And some of them, which we had discussed, is that most of these storytelling speeches will begin with it'll have a conflict, and interchangeably I can call it a problem, right? So for instance, in the Martha Clooney speech, if you remember, it was the microwave story that she was talking about. That was an incident that she was talking about. And in Matthew Dix's speech, he was talking about that one incident, where he talked about a couple of incidents, but one of the central incidents was when he was in the cafeteria, and there was this big guy called Dan, and he dropped the plate on his feet, and the whole spiral of the whole clash between juniors and seniors that was talked about. So interestingly, Martha Clooney has only talked about one incident in her story. Matthew Dix has talked about maybe a few more than the dance that he was going to, and then this whole thing about putting pamphlets, the senior sucks and all that. So there are some multiple stories that he talks about. Okay, so both have those are all conflicts or problems that they have talked about. So you'll see that every story will have a conflict. And so does your story that you have shared with me on Blackboard have a conflict there? There was some problem, some issue was going on. Now, so as George Bernard Shaw has often, has said, is that there's no conflict, then there's no drama. No conflict, no drama, no drama, no conflict. Okay. So there is, as we know, that there's a problem, there's a conflict. So and I through your profile speech outlines, you've also talked about, some of you've talked about one conflict, some of you talked about multiple conflicts that you have been through. Now, the second thing that we talked about is, after talking about conflict, we talked about how do you arrange this conflict, right? So you should have something what we call is rising action. Then once we start talking about the rising action, you slowly build it up. You build it up and you enter from rising action to climax. And then from climax, you start your downward process, which is to resolution, the resolution. So it happens with, rising action, where she, for instance, the Martha Clooney speech that we watched, she talked about her whole experience in the whole culture shock and that she faced in UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, and then the whole climax was the whole microwave incident, the fire alarm going off, and then there was a resolution when she actually says that, if somebody asks me to talk about that microwave incident in such and such year, I'm not going to be embarrassed. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to, if that makes me a legend, I am a legend. Okay, so there was a resolution of the problem, right? So hopefully all of you have a rising action, the conflict, and resolution, right? So it's okay if you're able to convey your story, and again, I don't really want you to have that set pattern in your mind and you have to fit it in. Then your story, I probably won't be able to do it this way, because if I have a set pattern and set things that I need to follow, I may not be my creative best. And so I understand if you don't have that order that I'm talking about, that's fine. But this is something that most speeches will follow, most storytelling will follow, like a conflict, and then a structure of events. How do you organize those events? Okay. The third thing that we talked about is characters. And as I mentioned to you, if you want to make the speech very lively, relatable, people can identify with your story, then you got to have characters there. You yourself are the narrator, right? I think Chidi brought this point up in our first meeting, is in our class on Wednesday. Is that, I'm sorry, on not Wednesday, on last Thursday. So he said that, well, can I just can I be the narrator? Can I do the speech as I? And I said, absolutely. And I don't see any other way of doing it, unless you want to make it like a third person narrator. I haven't seen a whole lot. That's going to be a pretty unique one to do this, as you talk about yourself, but as a third person. So if you would like to do it that way, I haven't seen anyone doing that. It's going to be a little hard the easiest and the simplest way is to, talk about yourself and use I. So that's the first person narrator. So you are there, the protagonist in the story. And then with that, you have some stock characters, like we had that, the principal, who's the strict principal, who says that I'm not, you've called a right on yourself and I'm not going to take responsibility for you, like a strict principal, right? Then you have that Mr. I think he talks about the Mr. John wearing this polo buttoned up collared shirt in Martha Clooney's story. Then you have those, the typical parents, she's talked about the helicopter parents who's always looking over your shoulder, and his parents were the bubble telescope parents who were like far away. They had no clue about what's going on in the child's life. So you have these stock characters there. There is, the resident, the RAs who came in knocking at the door, the firemen, all of that makes it more relatable, makes it more lively, makes it look like a drama with a lot of stage actors. Okay. So do you have who are the characters within your story? So that's another thing that we talked about. That was the third thing. Now, to make your speech, to show what's going on between the characters in your mind, do you have dialogues written within your speech? So do you have dialogues which are primarily meant for you? It's more like a soliloquy where you are talking to yourself, right? Inner dialogues, inner thinking. Do you have that? Do you have dialogues between characters, okay, between you and another person, maybe the principal, maybe the coach, maybe a friend? Do you have dialogues that is between characters? So that was another aspect that we discussed. And I think the final thing was that we talked about was the use of metaphors. As you could see that most speeches, and that's if you look at some successful speeches, you'll see pretty much all the tenets, all the characteristics that I'm talking about, pretty much you'll see in most storytelling speeches. You will see characters, you will see there's a conflict, there's a rising. Most of these are successful patterns of storytelling. Now, one of the things that really stands out is the power of metaphors. All right. And there could be a whole discussion. There's a book, there are lectures, everything on the power of a metaphor. Okay. So first, for example, some of you mentioned, and I think we had this discussion in class where we talked about Patagonia, right? When she says that why do these pen kids, she calls them pen kids, have sweatshirts with Patagonia written on it. She kind of makes it up, right? And that's the charm of her speech. She makes it up, and Patagonia almost emerges as a cultural symbol of wealth, of class, of of a certain strata in society. So that emerges. So and the power of metaphors is, again, if you throw a metaphor at your audience, what it does is you're empowering the audience, because a metaphor is always a word with hidden meaning. All right. So you throw a metaphor to the audience, and audience feels that it is on them to interpret that. And what wonderful if you empower the audience with that I'm going to give you a word and you can interpret it just the way you want it. So when I hear Patagonia, maybe all of us will come to the same, and that should be, if that's what Martha Clooney is thinking, that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to create a word called Patagonia, and I'll make sure that all the audience kind of have associations with that word. Maybe it's like a Gucci, or maybe it's like a Armani, or like a high brand, okay, high street fashion, or high brand kind of a thing. So but the way I'm thinking about it with the term will come a lot of associations, maybe, and based on my lived experience, right? The way I look at a high brand, maybe I think of it as like, meaningless, or maybe I think of it as I aspire to that, or maybe I think of it as kind of exploitation. All right, because the way I'm looking at the word is built around the stories that I have lived through. All right, so that makes it very powerful. The way I am looking at the word, I'm not expecting Chidi or Celeste or Griffin to look at the word, because their lived experience may be very different from mine or from each other, right? So that's the power of the metaphor, and you can see that she has created these words, right? So there was one word, that Patagonia, she created that word. With Matthew Dix, oh my goodness, he's creating pamphleteering. Oh my, pamphleteering, and bubble telescope parents. We have always heard about helicopter parents. He just created another one. Is that if you have heard about you've heard about helicopter parents, always looking at the on the shoulder, or at the shoulder of your child, and then you have this, he creates a new word. So my parents were the telescope parents, like completely far away from their child, right? So he's again creating words, he's creating metaphors. So you can see that there's a pattern. Both these speakers, or good storytellers, have made their own words, metaphors. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you were able to create your own words or your own metaphors within the story? Okay. So when I say this, again, some of them have created words. Some of them have used, the word legend, for example, have redefined legend. So when Martha Clooney describes the word legend, initially you'll see in the introduction, she says the word legend, I became a legend. So when she says that in the beginning, she says, I became a legend at UPenn. She starts the story this way, and it kind of makes us say, oh, wow, legend? Then legend is a person who's, achieved, he's done something really good and something really worth remembering. And that makes that person in the past, and that makes the person almost like a hero or a shero. So that's the audience expectations, right? What she does is she reverses the expectations. And then she talks about, so we have this expectation in mind, but when the story unfolds, we see that she's not a legend. She's made a fool of herself, perhaps. Okay. Since that's the humor part of it. When you are actually using this term and then you're reversing the expectation, right? And then she owns it. And in the conclusion, she says, if this makes me a legend, hey, I am a legend. I take it, right? So you can see how the term legend has been defined and then redefined. If you are able to do this, you're playing with the audience's expectations, and that kind of creates that curiosity, that humor, fun, and audience just loves it. this, within storytelling. So the use of words, the kind of words that you use, especially with hidden meanings, unexpected meanings, just makes it more alive, interesting, the speech stronger. So you'll see that come up as a pattern. I think these were some of the things that we discussed, right? Now, what I will do is, there's a third speech that I want you to kind of watch. And based on that, today, what I will do, already I have all your profile speech outlines. And as I mentioned to you, I have gone through it. If you've done, if you've kind of attempted it, I'm not going on the quality of it or, what should have done, the mistakes, the editing, I'm not. If you've turned it in, you get full points. Okay. This was more of a draft. Now the editing process will happen. Okay. And with that, how well you're making the edits, now the grading scale is going to be different. Okay. How well you're able to make the edits. Remember, class, your speech basically starts from, I'll do a screen share here, and just to show where we are, here we go. And here we are. Today is the 27th, it's a Tuesday. And today, we are talking about topic selection, development. How do you develop the speech? How do you develop the topic? We will continue the discussing that today. And then I'll ask you to watch another one, which is a good speech. And then we're going to have a discussion. And then on September 29th, we will get into the speech even further. And then on October 4th, we'll have a workshop format where I will actually I'll review review your speech with you. Okay. So, and that will be one by one. I'll be again looking at it. So there'll be several filters, draft, editing, all of that before you actually go for your speech, which is going to start from October 6th, then we have October 11th, and then we have October 13th. These are the 3 speech days. So I'll take a little bit of a break and ask you if you have any questions for me, because I'm not able to kind of see you guys right now here, but so I'm not sure whether somebody's raised their hand or. No questions? So I just showed it to you, Gabby, to look at the outline when you're presenting it. It is right here. You start presenting from October 6th. So yeah, so October 6th is not exactly next week, but next week, but not exactly 7 days. It'll be 9 days. So I don't see anything coming up from you. Okay. So, all right. So give me a second. I'm going to cue that speech and we will have a discussion based on that. Give me a second. I'm going to show that to you. How are we doing on time? Not bad. 9:32. I'm going to quickly see whether I have students waiting for me anywhere. No, okay. No students, no text messages, nothing. So everybody is here. All right. YouTube, history. Eric Paul. Okay, got it. All right, so I would like you to watch this one. I'm not going to give you too much of information, but you could watch the speech, okay? So I'm going to have a discussion with you now. Hopefully you remember most of it from Martha Clooney's speech and the second speech that we watched. That day we didn't have the time to watch all the 3 speeches, so I had the third speech in mind. But today I'm going to share it with you. I have already queued it for you. I would like you to watch, and based on this, we are going to have discussions about the introduction, the body, the conclusion, some of the patterns that you see in the 3 speeches. So we're going to have a class discussion. So please make notes, and based on the class discussion today, I will have some questions for you, and based on that, I will, as we'll have some groups, and based on your response, it's an in-class activity that we're going to do, and I'll add your points on your grade book. Okay, so please pay attention here. And what I'll do is actually, in case, because this is we are online today, in case the connection goes off or you lose internet, I am going to put the link for all of you on chat, so that even if the link goes off, you can go to this link and watch it by yourself. All right, so here we go, and I'm going to screen share. So I just sent out this on chat, and I'm going to screen share this with everyone.
I do a complete flip, and as I hit the pavement, it's 8 a.m. on the nose, and I am in position. I'm seated alone at a conference room table. I got my game face on. It's go time. And one by one, they come in and they sit down, and one by one, I fire them. Every 15 minutes for 4 hours, and by noon, I had fired 16 of the 22 people on my team at work. So my boss takes me to lunch, and she thanks me for a hard job well done, and then tells me that my job has been eliminated also. So yeah, bad day at work, I guess. But for me, really, it was just another big turd in this losing streak that I had been going through for the last couple of years. And when the carnage is over, I just want to go back up to my office and hide, because I know it's going to be quiet up there, because I just fired everyone. But I'm met up there by this guy named Keith, young guy, one of the survivors, and he sits there patiently, and he just lets me unload about the last couple of years of my life. I get divorced, get laid off, my dad dies, I joined Match.com for some reason, I get remarried again way too soon, I get divorced again, not soon enough, I get laid off again. Hell, somewhere in there, I found time to get run over by a Honda. And Keith takes it all in, and he's a man of few words. He says, dude, that's quite a slump. What are you going to do? And most of the time, I don't understand a word that comes out of his face hole. But this time, he makes sense. Because I played baseball, and I know that when you're in a slump, you got to do something deliberate, something different, something crazy to just get it out of your head. And for me, what always worked was to do something stupid, something dangerous, like crowding the plate or leaning into a pitch. Because I tell you, there's nothing like a fastball coming at your face to make you think more quickly. But see, the problem with being an introverted, overeducated white male is that really for the last 20 years of my life, I didn't really need to do much of anything to get ahead. And so when the situation finally calls for action, I'm a little out of practice. And the best I can come up with is I start riding my bike back and forth to work, which I guess is slightly dangerous, but really I needed something bigger. Something inspired. And where does a dork like me go for inspiration? National Public Radio. And And when Story Slams came to Louisville, I knew that I had to do it, and that there was no logical reason why. I'm not a writer. I'm not a teacher. I've never acted. I don't aspire to be these things because I kind of like a steady paycheck. And I don't get up here because my life is full of adventure. No, I'm telling you a story about telling stories. But to me, it felt right, because to me, it felt kind of crazy and it felt dangerous. And so I knew I had to do it. And so I show up that first Story Slam and I'm scared shitless. And of course, my name gets picked. And I didn't win. That wasn't really the point. I don't even remember telling my story, but what I do remember was stepping down off the stage into darkness, into a room full of strangers. And as I make my way back to my seat, I get a pat on the back and a way to go from every one of those strangers. And it reminded me of what it felt like to break a slump in baseball. But this was not baseball, this was my life. And I needed to make sure that that slump was good and dead. So the very next day, as I'm riding my bike home from work, I'm not thinking about what a shitty day I had. I'm thinking about that next Story Slam, and not just surviving it, but winning it. And I'm so deep in thought, and I'm so completely obsessed with this that I don't notice the car door that opens 20 feet in front of my bike. And I sure as heck didn't see the 4-year-old boy who was coming out of that door. Like that. I swerve. I missed that boy, but I got that door. And I go head over heels over the handlebar. I do a complete flip. And as I hit the pavement and I slide out into traffic, I have reason to worry that maybe my slump is not dead yet. Somebody drags me to the curb and I sit there and I guess I'm a little bit stunned, because it takes me a while to notice that the 4-year-old boy from the back seat is now sitting next to me at the curb. And he doesn't say anything, but after a minute, he just reaches out and he gives me a fistful of Spider-Man Band-Aids. Because I'm bleeding pretty good. And that kid must have thought that I was insane, because I just sat there smiling, just smiling like a fool. Because in that moment, I'm not worried about my boo-boos. I'm not worried about my busted bike. All I'm thinking about is, what a great story this could make. And that is when the slump died for good. Thank you. It is.
All right. All right. So I want to hear your feedback about this speech. Kate, I got your text. I'm going to respond to you very soon. So I would like to know your response now that you've watched 3 storytelling speeches. You watched Martha Clooney's speech, and at the same time, right? One was like 5 minutes, 40 seconds. The other one was around 6 minutes, and this one was around 6 minutes, a few seconds. So, these are all story slams, as you can imagine. So I have some questions for you today. And we'll get into our groups here. We have about 18 of us here already, so it's almost a full class today. So I will, those of you who joined a little late, just let me know so that I can mark you present, okay? So I'll do that. And actually, I'll take an attendance at the end. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about attendance. I'll do it at the end. So I'm going to get you into groups, and since they're about, excluding me, 17 of you in class, so we should have about 6 groups. I would like really small groups, like not more than 3 or maybe 2. The reason is I want like really small focus groups, and I would like a few things. Okay. first thing is that based on the speech, I'm going to ask you some questions. Before even assigning you the groups, I'm going to ask you these are some of the questions, all right? So I would like to ask you now, based on the 3 speeches, and I'm going to, if you do not remember, I will just put it here as well. Give me a second. I'm going to give you the other 2 links as well. I just shared this link with you. Let me share some other links with you. 1 minute here. Go to Martha Clooney's speech. Yeah, so this is another one that these are the 2 speeches that we
Welcome to the
want.
stage, Martha Cooney.
Okay, so I'm going to put this one on chat as well. So if you need a little refresher, this one was the Martha Clooney speech. The one that I just sent you was Eric Call's slump speech. Okay, Eric, the one that we just watched is called Eric. I put that there. All right, the first one was Eric Call that we just watched right now. It's called the slump, Eric Call's slump speech. Okay, and I just sent you the link for that one. The second one, the first one that we watched in class on Thursday was Martha Clooney's speech. Martha Clooney's speech. And here's the link for that one. And then we also watched Matthew Dick's speech, which was inciting right on myself. And that one, the link for that one is, give me a second. Yeah, got that done as well.
Please welcome to the stage with hearty applause, Ms.
All right. You may remember that I also sent you all an outline of the speech with introduction, body, conclusion. I had it as a Microsoft Word document, and I kind of showed you, the problem, the conflict, the characters, stock characters, the use of metaphors. I had kind of put it on a Microsoft Word doc with comments showing how some of the things that we discussed were shown in the speech. I sent that out to you all right after class on Thursday. And here is Matthew Dick's speech, which is inciting right. The link is here. So these are the 3 links that you guys have got. Based on this, my question to you is, which speech do you feel is the strongest? Okay, so I would like you to talk to your group and tell me, and whether you guys agree or disagree with each other. So it's, one person may say that, I loved Martha Clooney's speech the most. Another person, that group might say, Deanna might say, no, I think Eric Call's speech was the best. And perhaps Isaiah might say that, no, maybe Matthew Dick's speech was the best. Okay, so which out of these 3 speeches that you guys watch, which one would you rate as the best for you? Okay, so, and if you say that no, all of them were good, then tell me why all of them were good. So I would like to know, first question within the group, which one was the best speech and why? Okay, so for this question, you remember that then you will have to kind of say that why do you think Martha maybe did not do that well, or Matthew Dix did not do that well, and Eric Call did the best? Why? Okay, you have to talk to each other. Okay, have a debate with each other regarding. So that's my question to you. All right. So once y'all talk about this, I will I'll just ask you, what your thoughts were. Did you all come to a, kind of a consensus, or did you not agree with each other? And that's fine. So I'm going to talk to each person in the group. All right. So remember, a few things, talking points for you is, or kind of like a few metrics for you would be in terms of, one is, think about it in terms of when you're making a decision, think about it in terms of conflict. Okay. Conflict or problem that was discussed, which problem was the most, appealing, or conflict. B is in terms of characters. Okay. Characters, whose character in all the speeches, which character did you like the most? Okay, so characters. Talk about inner, use of metaphors. Which speech had the strongest metaphor? So use of metaphors. Use of, that's C. D, use of dialogues. Okay, use of dialogues. Inner dialogues with other characters. Which one was the strongest for you? What else? Conflict, characters, use of dialogues, incidents. Okay, the incidents. That's fine.
Mom.
Yeah. All right. All right. Cool. You will have to mute you. Somebody's unmuted, and we can hear. All right.
Shut
Robert. Oh, it's so funny. That's okay, Kate. That's all right. I muted you. All right. So use of dialogues, characters, conflict, characters, use of metaphors, use of dialogues. All right. What else? Underlying message. All right. Underlying message in the three. Which one? That's, and the last one. Which one stands out to you the most? The underlying message. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to be your, so you know that Martha Clooney was talking about, there was an underlying message. What was she talking about? Owning, right? We know that she was trying to find herself. She owned herself, even with that culture clash. Matthew Dix is always throughout his life is craving for attention, whether it was his parents, from his mom, from school, his story. Okay. And Eric Call's story, his underlying message. Which one was most profound? And you guys, there's no right or wrong answer, as you know. It depends on the way your life experience is. Some of you may just find you might be able to relate to Martha Clooney the most. Some of you may just be able to, with the situation that you're going through, you may be able to relate to Matthew Dix most, and some of you may be able to just relate to Eric Call the most. So I would like to know. Okay, so when you're discussing this within those small little groups, I would like you to actually now discuss and deconstruct all the speeches. Talk to your group members and talk in terms of conflict, talk in terms of characters, talk in terms of underlying message, in terms of dialogues, use of metaphors. So these are some of the things. So I kind of gave you A, B, C, D, E. So talk in terms of that and kind of come to don't have to come to a consensus, but I would like to know which speech appealed to you the most. Okay. And I did want you to think about this by yourself, but it'll be nice if you have your peers with you to see how they are thinking about it, to kind of bounce off, because you learn from each other's process. Okay. So here we go. And I'm going to now assign groups to you. There were 17 of us here. And I'm going to now divide you into groups, breakout rooms. Don't want to have more than 3 in each group, so 6. One of you will have 2 members in the group. That's okay, Kate, not a problem at all. Maybe you can get your dog introduced to us. Just get him on screen before the class ends. Okay, so Kate and Jillian, you guys will have two in that group. Okay, one of you, because it's 17 of us, it's the odd number. All right, so open all rooms, and I will get into each group. I'll give you all about this. Might take a little bit of time because you guys are going to discuss this. So 3 speeches discussing all of that probably will take about 15 minutes. Okay, so we will regroup within 15 minutes. Okay, and then when the rooms are open, then I'll ask each group to present their thoughts. Okay, any questions for me? None. Okay. Pedro? Pedro?
Yes.
Pedro, so you may want to get into room 6. See, it'll have an option of getting into room 6. Do you see that? What happened, Pedro?
The Zoom closed down for me and I got disconnected.
Okay, so if you go, do you see room 6? Breakout room, join room 6.
Room 6.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I'd say I had to wait for you to move me.
I'm not able to. No, I don't have the option of doing that. So, you're in no room 6. Add to start video. Make host. Put in waiting room. Remove report. No. All right, so you have to do, since you're not, okay, 1 second here, unassigned, assigned to, now you are showing. Okay, I'm putting you into room 6. There are 3, in the chat, there were 3 videos that, I don't know what time you joined today. So we just watched a speech on Eric Call's speech on breaking slump. And we watched the 2 other speeches, Martha Clooney's speech and Matthew Dix's speech. So you guys have to rate and tell me which speech was the best. And there are few metrics, for example, in terms of characters, in terms of underlying message, in terms of in terms of the metaphors that were used, in terms of inner dialogues. Which one out of these 3 speeches was the best one for you? So I kind of gave a link. Did you receive the links
On the chat?
on the chat?
No, I saw a few text messages, but there weren't any links.
Okay, so here
I
we
came
go.
to class at around 9:20.
Okay, so I'm again sending it to you. Okay, so Martha Clooney, and I'm going to send it to you individually now so that you can, okay, so chat, Pedro here. So yeah, the first one that we watched in class today, on Thursday. Then Matthew Dix's speech in writing right upon, that was also watched in class. And that one is the link is here. Okay, this was also watched in class last Thursday. And the one that we just watched was Eric Call's speech, Eric Call's slump speech. Okay.
Yeah, I see them.
Wait, Eric Call. This one, we just did this one. For slump speech, and the link for that one is here. So now you have all the 3 links, and now I'm going to put you into assigned room number 6 and get into the group and have the discussion there. This is going to be graded. So, all right. Okay, so I'll just assign that to you. Breakout room unassigned, assigned to room number 6. You will be joining Kate and Jillian.
Okay.
Accept it. It's going to show you a link. All right. I think everybody's out of the rooms now. Okay, yes. So, all right. I would like to hear from you and we'll go according to the rooms. Let's go with room 1. We had Celeste, Griffin, and Liziana. What did you guys discuss?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, so we were discussing how we thought I forgot his last name, but the Mark speech, the one where he was
Which one? The Martha, the one that we watched on Thursday, Martha Clooney and Matthew Dix.
Matthew.
Matthew Dix. Okay. So
He was the one with the telescopic fins, right?
yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, just want to make sure. So we were saying that we thought his speech was really well done. They were all really well done, but his one especially stood out because he handled many like different aspects really well. Like he had like the humorous side to it, but then he had like those serious undertones because he was like as a kid, like he really just wanted his parents' attention, but his parents didn't give him that. So then he went and did a bunch of like very dangerous things, which eventually went to the climax of him like starting a riot at his school with all the seniors wanting to go after him.
Okay.
And then
So that one was the strongest for the group. And was there any difference of opinion within the group members? Or you guys collaboratively felt that that was the best one?
Well, we thought we were debating between Martha, I forgot her last name, speech and his speech. But we ultimately decided on talking about Matthew's.
Okay. Interesting. And I'm all right. Let's see what others say. Are they going to rate his speech as the highest? Anything that you felt that did not work out for Martha Clooney, I recall speech that did not work out for you?
I don't think it was that anything didn't work out. It was just that there was more of a connection with the other speech.
Okay. There's more connection with. That's the thing. I was thinking that maybe there's nothing like working out, but there was more connection with Matthew Dix's speech. Very, very nice. Okay. All right. So I guess I was informed there was Chidi just mentioned that there was an alarm momentarily in the Naperville Center this morning. So 3 students here will be affected for just a moment. Thank you, Chidi, thanks for letting me know. Was it a fire alarm or?
Yeah, it's still gonna go off in a few minutes.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm not going to, I'll just let the group members talk. So if you are in the Naperville Center, I'm not asking, you don't need to talk. Okay, all right. Okay, so to breakout room, as long as you guys can listen to me, that's fine. That was room number 2. Room number 2, we had Chidi, and we have John. John, are you at the Naperville Center, or are you at home, or not at the center?
No, I'm at home.
Okay, great. So would you be able to tell us what you and Chidi kind of talked, or maybe was there a consensus? Did you all agree on one particular speech that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
We agreed that the one by Martha, we thought personally was the better one. Considering it had humor, it had all the metaphors, dialogue, everything we're basically looking for.
Okay.
And then we said that the one from Matthew was a close second to that.
Okay, all right. So Matthew was close second to that, and Martha stood out for you. Is there any reason why the others did not? Is it because you felt that you could relate it to it more, or was there any other reason that kind of led you to that choice?
It was more, we related to it more, but also the other ones, more so the one we watched today, had less metaphors, or not any, we found, and didn't really meet all the criteria we were looking for.
Okay, we also thought it was more funnier though than
Yeah.
Yes.
Martha's more funny. Okay, all right, interesting. Okay. I have my own thoughts, but we'll talk about my thoughts later. Okay. So room 3, we had Andrew, Leila, and Mia. What did you guys think?
We kind of originally we talked about I'm trying to remember all the names. Like I originally said I liked Martha's speech.
The most. Okay.
I'm trying to remember what were the names in my group.
I say,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah. Let
sorry.
me just say, Martha's speech was about the UPenn and the cultural difference in that she faced in University of Pennsylvania. Matthew Dix's speech was inciting riot upon myself, the senior and the junior, the clash of the senior and the juniors. And Eric Call's speech was about this whole accident that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, I originally said Martha's, and then I think Layla. That's what I was saying. I don't remember who's my group. Yeah, Layla said, kind of pointed out that she liked Eric's speech, the one we heard earlier, because like his was like the most real problem. And she also pointed out, and I actually agreed that like Martha's speech was like delivered very well and was very funny, but we both kind of felt like it lost the point of the speech and ended up just being like a fun story about how she made a building get evacuated because of her microwave skills.
Okay.
Like almost like the first one was like more profound and like talked about like the struggle versus like just telling fun jokes.
Okay. First one, when you say first one, you mean Eric Call's.
Sorry, the one we heard today. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good. Nice. I'm going to talk about all my thoughts. I'm making notes in my mind. All right. Thank you. That was room 3. We had Andrew, Leila, and Mia in the group. Now we are in room 4. Ahmed and Gabby, both of them will not be able to talk, I guess, unless the situation has been resolved there in the Naperville Center. So I think Isaiah, you may have to hold the fort for them right now.
All right, that's cool. So I personally like the Eric one better because basically the same one as the last group. I felt like it could resonate with more people because it was more of like a real problem. Then also similarly, they both said they liked the Martha better, but I didn't really like that one because I didn't really like the connection that. It's like I was okay with the message she was going for about being unique and being herself, but I didn't like the connection of just being just burning a microwave and causing everyone to go outside. But like I felt like the other one had a stronger connection to me. But like that's just how I felt.
Okay, so you guys had a difference of opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, so
they like the way the Martha had more metaphors and she was more funny and she had a better story.
And for you, which one would be the best? Eric Call's speech, the speech today.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And they felt that because she had much more, she was funny and lot of metaphors in her speech, and you felt that you could relate to Eric Call's problem, making it more real the most.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Room 5, we had Andrew, Ben, and Diana.
We thought the second one with Michael Dix was like the best. We talked about actually like the tone and the deliverance of his speech, as well as the conflict itself. In comparison to Martha or the first story.
Okay.
And the second story, we felt as though that his conflict was the most resonating a little bit.
Okay. The one that we watched today resonated the most.
I meant Michael's.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Matthew Dix's speech. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was one of them. And so you collaboratively agreed about this, or did you have did people have did the group members have different opinions?
At first, Benjamin said that he liked the first speech. But then we talked
Martha Clooney's speech.
Yeah.
First speech was, okay. And then you guys kind of said Matthew Dix's speech was the best.
Yes.
And the reason is that it was much more relatable.
More so like the tone and the
The tone,
deliverance
delivery, yeah, okay,
of
yes. you
his
mentioned that.
story. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned about the delivery. That's okay. All right, great. Thank you. All right, so room 6, let's hear from you. We had Kate, Jillian, and Pedro. Let me see who's in that room. Let me see. Nepochidi and okay. All right, so none of you are in the Nepal Center. Okay.
No.
So one of you, yeah.
Okay, so I thought that Martha Cooney's speech resonated more with me, but the boys thought that Matthew Dixon's speech resonated more with them.
Okay.
So I thought that her speech resonated more because I'm from the East Coast and I could relate to how she was talking about the dialogue barrier that she was having and the issues that like took place with that. Because although I was born in New York, I lived in Pennsylvania for 7 years, and I completely understand what she was talking about because when I moved to the Midwest, I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Soda pop. What do you mean? Like, and then the
Do an
guys
accent
thought
for us.
that
Do a Midwest accent for us.
I don't even know.
And the
I can't even like.
So you're actually from the East Coast, like which that's where your home is. Where's home for you?
So I've lived here for like 8 years, but I was born in New York and my whole family lives on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
And I lived in Pennsylvania for 7 years.
Okay, where in Pennsylvania?
Hanover, Pennsylvania and Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Because I lived for 5 years in Pittsburgh. So I
Yeah.
also know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So it was a relatability issue, and both of them felt that Pedro and Kate felt that it was Matthew Dixon's speech. Okay, great.
They
All right.
said that it related to them more because they tried to fit in high school and like felt like they needed to be someone that they weren't.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here we go. Interesting, very nice, interesting response from all of you. Wanted to see how you guys, felt about the speech. What I felt from your response is that most of you are rating it upon, and that's how it usually is upon the, how is the audience rating it? It's based on how you feel the situation or the underlying message kind of relates to you or relates to your life. So those of you found a connection, you felt that speech was the best. And those of you felt that, the connection was less with Eric Call's speech, you did not kind of gave it a very high, the highest rating. Also, some of you kind of also looked at some of the rubrics that we talked about. And I think those of you did a pretty logical, go by the books, the rubric, and you think that way as well. So there you felt that, for sure, didn't Eric Call's speech did not have a whole lot of new metaphors he didn't create a whole lot of metaphors. In terms of delivery, I think one of the groups said that delivery skills was by far, Matthew Dixon's speech was very strong on delivery, tone. That's what you gave importance. Some of you mentioned that the funny part of Martha's speech made it funny, humorous, lots of metaphors, that kind of made it the best for you. So the way you're looking at it is very different. And your parameters are also pretty, kind of, some of you have the same parameters, some of you have different parameters of looking at it. But one of the things, what it boils down is basically whether the speech kind of, whether you were able to relate to the underlying message. And that's what kind of makes, I think for most of you, makes that decision. Interesting. Now, if you ask me, for my personal opinion, I'm not going according to, looking at all the rubrics and saying, characters, dialogue, problem. For me, all the speeches were, of course, I loved all the 3 speeches, but for me personally, I think some of you mentioned this in your, and I said, for me personally, and that's because of my life situation and what I'm going through or what my experiences is, I feel most connected to Eric Call's speech. The whole thing about slump and hitting that slump and the whole thing about making fun of such serious events in life. And I guess some of you called it, like you mentioned that it was more real. for you. So I find that, and I think that kind of speech is more for an audience who has lived a pretty a good amount of life to experience, marriage, divorce, the layoffs, multiple layoffs, accidents for sure, all of that. So the pool of audience is now kind of going into a very different zone. And some of you found that culture thing, those of you are first, second generation immigrants, or you've moved, no, you don't even have to be an immigrant if you guys, as we just heard from Jenny, if you've moved between states, if you, if you try to adjust to a new culture, you guys have just picked up on that one. That's the most, relatable for you. If you, then some of you have talked about the whole, senior, junior, something that I think lot of you have mentioned about that. That was most appealing because you went through, perhaps in some way or the other, you went through that, or you know somebody who's gone through that. So you can see how how you're interpreting the message. Both the three of them were good, in terms of, their delivery skills. Yeah, of course, that's a very subjective, that's going to be a very subjective decision, unless that one person really did a bad job in delivery, which I don't think any of them, three of them did a D or a F level job in terms of delivery. Three of them were good. Now, one of them, according to you, one of them scores the highest. And it's again a very subjective decision. The way I will think that, the delivery is, it was impeccable, you may not think that way. So it's a subjective decision. Unless, and because three of them were pretty good. Now to rate one a little higher than other in terms of delivery, it's going to be a tough choice. All right. So, so these are some of the parameters through which you guys kind of, and you were in small groups, you did a little bit of negotiation, talking to each other, knowing about the other person's perspective, coming to a decision. I think, and you kind of, you had to come to a consensus. Some of you, still had, you didn't have to agree, and which, when I asked you, you said that this is what I felt, this is what, a few others felt, and then, but we collaboratively maybe came to this decision. So yeah, so this is, these were the three speeches that I wanted to talk to you about, in terms of, in terms of storytelling ability, and whether you're seeing a pattern. As you can see that if you think about the pattern that we discussed about, each of them has a conflict. Check mark. Each of them has a conflict / problem. Each of them have characters. Each of them have dialogues. Each of them have, rising action. Maybe some of them have multiple. Like you can see Martha's stories was the only one which was this about this one particular microwave story. The others, the two others, Eric Cole and Matthew Dix's story, had multiple events. Hard to do that within a 5-minute speech, but I think they carried it off pretty well. But even with Eric Cole's speech, multiple events that he's talking about, but focusing more. But the central focus was about that one accident, that the last one that he was talking about. But you can see the rising action, conflict, climax, and then the resolution of events. Very nicely, some of you have pointed out that, true enough, we don't see a whole lot of, that was a very good analysis by one of the groups. He said that we don't get to see a whole lot of metaphors in Eric Cole's speech. True enough. We do see very interesting metaphors in Martha Scully's with her whole, reversal of legend, redefining legend, Patagonia. We see pamphleteering, bubble telescope parents, all of that in Matthew Dix's speech. We do see one metaphor which kept coming. It was used almost like if you're into classical music and you know what a leitmotif is, which is one string of music or a tone that is intermittently kind of comes up in intervals. So if you think about it as a light, L-E-I-T, light, M-O-T-I-F, it's a musical term that is used in literature. Okay, so if you think about that as a leitmotif, then there was one word, if you think about it more carefully, you'll see that one word was used quite a number of times, which was the word slump. Slump in Eric Call's speech. So that really kind of stood out. One word that was used. So it got, and he calls the speech the breaking ground speech, and I would probably call it the slump speech. But the number of times slump was used, but again, slump, he kind of almost made it like a human being. Then finally the slump died. The slump died for good. All right. So the slump starts, almost gets injured, and he feels that has it died? It still hasn't died, and at the end, the slump finally dies, right? And that's and he starts talking about it in an interesting way that he uses it as sports metaphor. He says in baseball, he says you have to beat the slump, and then how he uses it in his speech. One word that was used intermittently, almost as a strategy, because this kind of works with audiences. With this one word, then this audience kind of focuses on that word and sees the meaning of that word change. Or this is another unique strategy that is used in storytelling. So some of you mentioned that he didn't really engineer or kind of create his own metaphors quite a bit, but we do see that one was repeated quite a number of times in different ways, almost making it sound like a human. The slump died for good at the end. So, all right, so this is what we discussed. What we will do in our next class, kind of, we will start, and will be meeting you on campus in our class, which is on Thursday, and which is the September 29th. Yeah, I'll meet you in class that day, and what we'll be doing in class is I will start right away. I will be looking at all your outlines with you, because I may not be able to. I want to dedicate that day with you. I will be looking at all your outlines, trying to finish as much as we can. I think we are about 18 of us here in class, so I may not be able to do probably about half of you, and then the next half I will be able to do it on our next day, which is going to be the following Tuesday. So by that time I'll finish all of you. So I don't think I'll be able to do it in one particular class, go through all the outlines and have a talk with you. Okay. So at this moment, what I will ask you to do is I will kind of get you back to your, if you just have about how many minutes, 10, 15 minutes remaining. So it won't be too long. So I will ask you to go back to your breakout rooms, and I'll assign again, it'll be the same groups. I'm just going to put you back there. I would like all of you to get your outlines out. Okay. At this moment, get your outlines out and be ready with your outlines. I'll do it in short little. I'll go from one room to another room, asking you for any questions that you have in regards to your outline. Okay. I would basically talk about the checklist, whether you were able to hit some of the points that we talk: characters, conflict of the story. Do you have metaphors? Do you have dialogues? I'm going to ask you whether how many parameters did you meet? What was the struggle? If you have any questions for me. Okay. So there is no homework for Thursday. If you haven't turned it in as yet, you haven't turned in your outlines, I want you to turn it in as soon as possible. Okay. Because on Thursday, I will actually, at that point, I will be looking at all your outlines individually. Okay. So, so let me see. Okay. So let me just go back to your, and I'll be jumping from one class to another class. And in the meantime, while I'm moving from one class to another class, I would like you to get all your outlines out. You're going to be in the short little, small little groups that we organize, the same group members. And if you can start talking to each other. You are reviewing your outlines, so you may want to kind of give them a gist of what you will be, just in that little small group that you have, what you will be presenting, and if they have any suggestions. Okay, so some kind of peer feedback based on what you wrote. So you may want to start the process while I get you, while I join you in your groups. Okay, so I just remove pin here, and I'll go back and open the. Yes, yes, all of you, yes. Is the class in? Yes, class is in person on Zoom, unless but there's no unless that will happen. There's no meetings or anything scheduled. Class is on Zoom. Class is on Zoom. I'm sorry, class is on campus in Naperville, face-to-face physical class. Yes, reading out our outlines to each other in that small little, just a focus group between two or three students.
So this lecture, where can we find it for today? This one on Zoom.
I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
Sorry.
Where can we find it after the class today? Where can we find it and go back to it and like review it?
What do you want to find, GD?
This the same lecture, this class on Zoom. You say it's going to be posted, right?
Oh, the recording of the meeting, today's class recording.
Yes.
That will only be posted after today's class, because still the recording is going on as I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, where can we find it?
Where can you? I will send it to you on in your email, in your announcements. So that's where all the communication happens. It's all Blackboard. Go to Blackboard, go to announcements. We'll see. And usually whenever I post an announcement, I post it on Blackboard, and immediately with that, an email is sent out to all of you.
Okay, thank you.
But right now the recording is still going on. So once the recording gets done, then you get it. Okay. Hello. So here we go. We just have about 2 minutes left. So I was able to go to room 1, room 2, and room 3. Room 4 had no one in it. The room 5, you had Andrew, Ben, and Diana, and then room 6, Kate, Jillian, and Pedro. I didn't have the time to go to your rooms. I will be seeing all of you, but hopefully you were able to talk to each other. I'll be seeing all of you on Thursday in class, physical campus in Naperville Center, face to face, and then we will go through all of the outlines. I will be working with each of you. As I mentioned, I'm not going to be able to work with all of you on the same day, so we have 2 assigned days. Okay, so and then you'll be getting to like in class. The best thing, for us would have been if we did it like here online, but that's okay. In class, I just wanted to have some silence unless you guys go out and talk to each other. We'll have small little groups, like 2 to 3 members, and then you're going to do peer review with each other, and then I'll be also working with you. All right. So I will see all of you in class. No homework today. I will see you all on Thursday, 9 o'clock at the Naperville Center. Thank you. Bye-bye. And I'll send
Thank you. Have a good day.
You.